Kindly take your seats.
So I think we'll have 28 is something.
Kindly take your seats. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It is my immense pleasure to welcome you all to the National Heritage Conference titled Conserving Heritage, Integrating Culture, Community, and Sustainability. This conference, jointly organized by Jyotiribas College and St. Joseph's University, is a celebration of our shared heritage and a platform to discuss innovative ways to integrate culture, community, and sustainability into the conservation of our history and traditions. To commence this momentous occasion, we will begin with the lighting of the lamp, a symbol of enlightenment and knowledge. I request our esteemed dignitaries, Dr. Selvakumar V., Principal of Jyotirivas College, Dr. Sister Mary Louisa S., Controller of Examinations, Ms. Neeta T.R., System Manager, Dr. Nandini, and all the other dignitaries to please come on the stage. Karen, we also request you to join us. Please come on.
I request Dr. Carol Stanley, please come for lighting the lamp.
Your living water, Nirvana fountain, comforter and counselor, take complete control.
Thank you, everybody, for gracing this beautiful tradition and illuminating the path for today's discussions. Before we begin the day's proceedings, let us seek blessings and guidance with a prayer by Sister Kanchala Rama.
Heavenly Father, Creator of all wisdom and knowledge, we gather here today in your presence, seeking your blessings and guidance as we embark on this conference. We are deeply grateful for this opportunity to come together to learn, share, and grow as individuals and as a community. We thank you for the talents and efforts of everyone who has made this gathering possible. Bless the speakers who will share their knowledge, the organizers who have worked diligently, and the participants who have come with open minds and eager hearts. Lord, we ask you to guide our discussions and interactions today. May our words be kind and constructive, our thoughts be inspired, and our hearts be receptive. Help us to engage in meaningful conversations that enlighten our minds, uplift our spirits, and strengthen our resolve to bring positive change to our lives and to others around us. Bless us with patience, understanding, and mutual respect so that this conference becomes a platform for growth, collaboration, and unity. May the knowledge and the insights we gain today empower us to serve others with humility and dedication. We also ask for your peace to fill our hearts and this space so that we may work together harmoniously, free from distractions and conflicts. At the end of this day, may we live with renowned purpose, deeper connections, and commitment to make a difference. We offer this conference and all its proceedings into your loving care. Be with us now and always. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Sister. To formally welcome this August gathering, I now invite Dr. Nalini Sekran, Dean of Humanities and Social Sciences and Head, Department of History, Jyotinivas College, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning and a warm welcome to everyone gathered here. A concerted effort to preserve our heritage is a vital link to our cultural, educational, aesthetic, inspirational, and economic legacies. All of the things that quite literally make us who we are, said Steve Perry. I find immense pleasure in welcoming one and all to the National Conference on Conserving Heritage, Integrating Culture, Community, and Sustainability. On behalf of the Departments of History, Jyotinivas College, and St. Joseph's University, I deem it a privilege and honor to welcome Dr. Selvakumar, the chief guest for today's conference. He had completed his doctoral research and postdoctoral research from Deccan College, Pune. Dr. Selvakumar is currently the head, Department of Maritime History and Marine Archaeology, Tamil University, Tanjavur. He is also the coordinator at Center for Indian Ocean Studies of the same university. He was a faculty member in the Department of Epigraphy and Archaeology of Tamil University. He was a faculty member at the Center for Heritage Studies, Tirupunithura, Kerala from 2003 to 7, under NTICVAM, that is Nehru Trust for the Indian Collections at the Victoria and Albert Museum, visiting researcher at the Center for Maritime Archaeology, Southampton University. His research interests include archaeology of India, prehistory, heritage management, maritime history, archaeological theory, history of science and technology, Indian ocean cultural interactions, and eco-criticism. I extend a warm welcome to you, sir. I'm happy to welcome Dr. S.K. Aruni, Regional Director, Southern Regional Center, ICHR. He is a well-known historian. He has served ICHR for 25 years in areas of research and administration. He has published several articles and books, Karnataka Itihasada Anveshanagalu, Madhyakalina Nagarikana, Mattu Rakshana Vyavaste, to name a few. He has served in various capacities such as the jury member for Endowment Awards in Kannada Sahitya Parishad, Board of Studies in History of Mount Carmel and Jyotinivas Colleges, member Editorial Committee Kempegowda Research Center, Bangalore University, member of jury Dr. V.K.R.V. Rao Awards, Institute of Social and Economic Change, Bangalore. We are privileged to have collaborated with ICHR SRC in organizing a two-day national conference on the role of tribals in the cultural history of South India, 10th to 19th century in 2014. Dr. Aruni was instrumental in organizing photography exhibitions on Vijayanagara and colonial Bangalore in Jyotinivas campus. He was a resource person for a national seminar on glorious Karnataka in Jyotinivas. In absentia, I thank him immensely for his valuable contributions. I welcome our beloved principal, Dr. Sister Louisa, whose dynamism, motivation, and constant support have really helped us to organize this conference. I welcome you, sister. I welcome the Vice Chancellor of St. Joseph's University, Dr. Father Victor Lobo, SJ. Now I request Professor Jane D'Souza to accept a small memento on Father's behalf. I welcome Dr. Carol Stanley, IQAC Coordinator, Jyotinivas College. Our Controller of Examinations, Ms. Neeta Jorpin. I heartily welcome Sister Sajita, Administrator, whose cooperation and readiness to help us has enabled us to conduct this conference. I extend a warm welcome to Sister Nalini Cruz, our manager. It's my honor to welcome you, sister. It's my privilege to welcome Sister Natalia, Principal, Jyotinivas Pre-University College. I extend a warm welcome to Sister Cynthia, Vice Principal, Jyotinivas Pre-University College. I extend a warm welcome to our resource persons for today, Ms. Yashaswini Sharma, Founder Architect, Aesthetic Architects, Ms. Immaculate Anthony, Founder IMA Creations. I heartily welcome the Chief Coordinator for Arts, Ms. Naurin Aziz, Chief Coordinator for Sciences, Mr. Shanmugam. Chief Coordinator of Commerce, Ms. Grace Samuel. Deans, heads of the departments, and faculty members from other departments. I heartily welcome Professor Jane D'Souza, Head, Department of History, St. Joseph's University, Professor Paul Newman, Professor Mahesha, Ms. Raksha, Faculty, Departments of History, St. Joseph's University. I welcome the faculty and students from various other colleges and students from our college who are participating offline and online. Thank you. Now coming to the overview of the conference. It's my privilege and honor to give an overview of the conference on the theme Conserving Heritage, Integrating Culture, Community and Sustainability. India's cultural heritage is a rich and diverse collection of traditions, beliefs, and practices that have been passed down through generations. It includes art, architecture, festivals, languages, and social practices. Understanding our cultural heritage gives us a better sense of our personal identity. It plays an essential role in our society by linking the past, the present, and the future generations as a basis for building a strong nation and national identity. Preventive conservation, restoration, documentation, research, and education are the means by which heritage can be conserved. Heritage supports environmental quality, education, inclusive economic development, social cohesion, equity, community well-being, and resilience. The objectives of the conference are to highlight the importance of heritage preservation, community participation, sustainable practices, to encourage research, to address the challenges, and to foster collaboration. Explaining the activities and achievements of the Department of History, Jyoti Nivas College. The Department of History was established in 1966. It is one of the oldest departments of our college. Since its inception, it has played a very important role in shaping the lives of students from different backgrounds. The department believes in student-centered learning and gives top priority to the convenience and comfort level of the students to make learning a very enjoyable experience. The faculty of the department make sure to make one feel at home, be it while expressing one's opinions or even in the pursuit of knowledge. As far as the best practices of the department are concerned, the department annually publishes a newsletter called Itihasa. Students are encouraged to work on topics of their choice. Thus, it becomes a portal for students to show their skills such as research, analysis, presentation of a paper, and editing. The department also gives the students an opportunity to interview artisans, craftsmen, potters, and archaeologists for the newsletter, from whom one gets indirect, fun-filled experience through their words. The department has organized various seminars, conferences, workshops at both national and international levels in collaboration with organizations such as the Indian Council of Historical Research, St. John's Research Institute, and the Center for Indian Numismatic Studies, SVYM, that is Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement, Ekadevanakote, Rao's IAS Study Circle, etc., to foster a research-oriented approach among students. Amongst the event organized, the ICHR sponsored national conference on the role of tribals in the cultural history of South India 10th to 19th century deserves a special mention. The department has hosted pottery workshops, numismatics workshops, storytelling, and script writing workshops. The department has conducted numismatics exhibitions, photography exhibitions on Vijayanagara and colonial Bangalore, and exhibitions of tribal products to which the neighboring schools were invited. The department has conducted short-term courses, like on numismatics titled Gleaning India's History Through Coins, an introduction to archaeology to enable students to gain valuable hands-on experiences that complement their classroom learning. The department has conducted educational tours to Hampi, Belur, Halebeedu, Bijapur, Janapataloka, and Channapatna. Every year, as a part of the curriculum for History of Bangalore, visits to MEG Museum, the Gurudwara, Someshwara Temple, Tipu Summer Palace, Kote Venkatramana Temple, Government Museum, places of archaeological importance in and around Bangalore, Nandi Hills, the Chopanatha Swami Temple, art galleries, St. Mary's Church, and HAL Aerospace Museum were visited. Students are encouraged to make models and posters to enable them to explore and manipulate the ideas in a tangible way. The Department of History, St. Joseph's University, the program of BA History started in July 1926. History was offered as a subject under the Department of Social Sciences during its early years. It was only in 1967 that independent departments were set up under a professor. The Department of History has consistently sought to make the study of history more engaging, informative, and contextually relevant. A notable initiative of the department is establishing the History Association Parishodhana. This association aims to cultivate students' research skills while fostering their diverse talents across various disciplines. Parishodhana organizes various activities, including interclass competitions, national online quiz, debates, exhibitions, workshops, webinars, and guest lectures. Additionally, the department conducts educational tours and heritage walks to broaden students' perspectives and deepen their understanding of historical context. To further encourage scholarly engagement, the department publishes a newsletter titled The Pendulum, providing students with opportunities to develop and showcase their research capabilities. Students are also invited to contribute historical articles for inclusion in the department's annual magazine, promoting a culture of academic inquiry and publication. I hope this conference will provide a platform for students, scholars, and researchers to share their experiences and expertise in the fields of cultural heritage and sustainability. I hope every one of us will gain from the deliberations of the conference and use the takeaways in our scope of work. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for welcoming and setting the perfect tone for the day. It is now my privilege to invite the principal of Jyotinivas College, Dr. Sister Mary Louisa S., to share her thoughts and vision about through the principal's message.
Distinguished Chief Guest, Dr. Selvakumar V., Head Department of Maritime History and Marine Archaeology, Tamil Nadu University, Tanjavur. Guest of honor, Dr. S.K. Aruni, Regional Director, Southern Regional Center, Indian Council of Historical Research, Bengaluru, in absentia. Dr. Father Victor Lobo, S.J., Vice Chancellor, St. Joseph's University, Bengaluru. Sister Nalini Cruz, Manager, Jyotinivas College Autonomous. Dr. Paul Newman, former Principal, St. Joseph's College, Evening College. Sister Natalia D'Souza, Principal, Jyotinivas Pre-University College. Sister Sajita, Administrator, Jyotinivas College Autonomous. Dr. Karen Stanley Zemler, IQAC Coordinator. Ms. Mita Jorfin, Controller of Examinations. Sister Cynthia, Administrator, JNPUC. Chief Coordinators, Ms. Naurin Aziz, Mrs. Grace Samuel, Mr. Shanmugam of Arts, Science, and Commerce and Management, respectively.
the program coordinator, Dr. Nalini Shekaran, Dean and Arts and Languages, Ms. Pratana Singh J, Department of History, Dr. Jain, Professor, Head Department of St. Joseph's University, another young professor, I guess he is Mr. Mahesh, and all the other distinguished faculty members of JNC and my dear students. Good morning. Good morning. But I also see some students from other institutions as well. Once again, a warm welcome to all of you. Conserving heritage is the moral obligation of every generation that passes through this planet. Our heritage, architecture, culture, traditions, rituals, and other things of the past are all important ingredients that sustain us through our own journey of life on earth. If we consider architectural heritage, we know that every historical building, every monument, and every structure carries with it the stories of generations. When we preserve these landmarks, we protect the soul of our ancestors and current communities, and we ensure that future generations inherit the wisdom of the past. Losing them would mean erasing the footprints of those who came before us. Historical monuments give us a sense of belonging and foster unity. Every city, as you know, is identified along with its historical landmarks. Preserving and conserving the architectural heritage actually strengthen the ties that bind us together as people and communities. Though it may not strike us ordinarily, the link between heritage conservation and sustainability, while including community and culture, is critical and crucial. Restoring historic buildings is often far more environmentally friendly than demolishing them and making new buildings. The energy and resources embedded in old structures can be harnessed to create spaces that are both functional and sustainable. By integrating modern technologies and green practices into heritage conservation, we can certainly strike a balance between progress and preservation. We all know that conserving architectural heritage is not without its challenges. It requires investment, expertise, and public support. That is why it is important that you, as students and future leaders, should be aware and be involved in conserving heritage. Yes, ideas, creativity, and also activism can help build the needed awareness that and inspire change. Whether you are students, architects, planners, or simple citizens, your voice and actions matter a lot. Do advocate always for policies and protect our heritage. Participate actively, vocally in conservation and restoration projects. Educate those around you on the importance of sustainable conservation. Because conserving architectural heritage is about honoring our ancestors, enriching the present, and securing the future. It is about creating a world where conserved heritage, culture, community, and sustainability coexist. We hope very much that such conferences, such as the one today, impel youngsters like you and help create ambassadors and stewards of this legacy, ensuring that conserving heritage becomes a mission of the contemporary, current, and generations to come. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, sister, for your encouraging and inspiring words. Next, we have the honor of hearing from Dr. Tulika Bhattacharya, the Dean of Humanities, St. Joseph's University. I request ma'am to deliver the Dean's message virtually. As we are setting that up, I may now request Dr. Selvakumar to deliver the chief guest's address.
Is that a table or a slide change?
Slides.
Okay, I'll do the slides. Okay. Huh? Yeah, I have it on pen ready so that I can. Oh, yeah, this I am keep it. Yes. That's what I can do. Yeah, I can always need slide. Oh, I can say right. Okay, okay. Okay, thank you.
Good morning to you all. I'm indeed very happy to be here as part of the seminar on conservation of cultural heritage. A respected principal of this college and the head of the department, and also the chief of St. Joseph University and other dignitaries and fellow speakers and students. I am very happy to be here after 10 years. I was here in 2014 and as part of a seminar on tribal history of southern India. One of my research area is heritage management and also subaltern archaeology, or the history of the marginalized communities is another area of my research. So this college, the Department of History, has organized the seminar on these two important areas. I'm indeed very happy. I would like to appreciate the efforts of Dr. Nalini Sekharan. If we can project my presentation, yes. Okay. Okay, it's working. Yes. The presentation today is about heritage management. Heritage management is what? Heritage management is a process of managing cultural heritage. Actually, heritage we divide into two, natural heritage and cultural heritage. I am trying to present an argument we should go for a holistic heritage management. What is holistic heritage management? Generally, we focus only on the monuments and cultural traditions. Suppose, let's say there is a cultural monument in Tanjavur or anywhere in Bangalore. We are focusing only on the past heritage. We are not focusing on the contemporary environment. So my concept of holistic heritage management involves properly managing the living areas, towns, cities, and rural countryside. So heritage management should take care of overall well-being of contemporary people. When we are talking about cultural heritage management, we talk only about the Indus Valley, we talk glorify about the town planning and everything, but we don't bother to manage our own cultural heritage in the sense that milieu, the environment. So in my opinion, cultural heritage management should be holistic. We should also take care of contemporary environment and also water bodies, and also we should take proper methods for managing our garbage. This is the idea I am conveying as part of holistic heritage management. And we should focus on the monuments and sites and landscape. When we talk about monuments, these are all built structures like Bragadishwara temple or Belur Halabed temples. Then we have another important category of monuments like ash mounds, especially Karnataka has very important monuments, sites called ash mound. Across India, every 10 village has one archaeological site. These are invisible archaeological remains, like what you have as Dibbi, Budi Hal, they call it as Haleman, or Til in but northern India, or Tila in northern India, or Tel or Tepe in West Asia. Any place names itself has indication for historic places. While we are focusing on the bigger monuments, we are not focusing on the archaeological sites, which are very important. If you take Karnataka and Andhra, there are so many ash mound sites. They are about 5,000 years old. They date from 3000 BC. Nobody is bothered to read about. Everybody wants to study only about urban Indus civilization. We are obsessed with the term civilization. What I am trying to argue is that we need to focus on micro history of the region. Every village has a history. Only when the history of the villages can be written properly, history of India can be written properly. So we need to focus on the small archaeological mounds located in the villages, especially because of the expansive urbanization all across India. These sites are getting destroyed. We need to take measures to protect these settlements. Besides the monument, this is where we need to have heritage education, heritage awareness, and sustainable tourism. Sustainable tourism can be very helpful, because if we create a network of monuments where people can visit, and this can improve. Another thing is, we are depending on state too much. In the medieval time, there was no state, there was no strong state. Especially historians have created the imagination of state and urbanization. You take any inscription, most of the activities were done by the people. People and community. You read tens of thousands of South Indian inscription, it has clue. Many of the tanks were created by the people. Now people want everything to be done by the government. How is it possible? State has been created as an imagination in the conception of archaeologists and historians, and because of various nationalist and other schools of thought. We need to deconstruct this. We need to forefront the community, local community, which has taken care of the temples and monuments, everything from the medieval period. I am not saying this on my own. You look at the inscription, you will see. Now we become state dependent. Medieval community they were dependent upon their own activities, even like what Bertenstein and Noboru Karashima has said, the state structures were not very concrete in the medieval period. This is something we need to focus, and we need to improve our approach to heritage. For example, we say that India is going to become third largest economy. What are our approaches to our heritage? When we were trying to project an image that we are the third largest economy by 2027, we need to have a equivalent approaches. Similarly, what are the archaeological resources? Already I said built monuments, sites, off-sites, and landscape, even water bodies. They are also equally important. And we have monuments like protected and unprotected, and community protected monuments, which are known as living monuments. They are also very important. And what are the legislations we have? We have Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act 1958, 2010, Antiquities and Art Treasures Act 1971, National Monuments Authority. All these are there. This is the statistics of protected monuments and sites in Tamil Nadu and Kerala and Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh. There are about 2,310 sites. But actually, there are more sites. What are we going to do? This is where a department like this has a good scope. We can use our students to create local history. Each student should go and take up a village and try to write their history. Sometimes students may be coming from villages. We should not, write a history of Bragadishwara temple or Belur, Halabed. People, MA students who are taking topics, they take like, a topic which are like killing a dead snake. They say, I want to do a project on any famous king, Rajaraja, Rajendra, or Pulikesi too. Why do you want to do such kind of history? You have to write history on the common people. This is what I tell my people. Even Thieves are also part of history, even beggars. Why the system creates such things? Even prostitutes. They know we are not touching some of the topics. We are thinking of only big personalities. Our conception has to change. Whenever I go to meet the cobbler who is sitting in the corner of a bus stand or railway station, I try to engage a conversation with him. Then by engaging conversation with these people, we can understand the society. Similarly, flower sellers. 2 days back, I happened to talk to a flower seller, a lady who is in front of a bus stand. I could understand many things. So when you write history, don't think it is a history of only the kings and queens and bigger monuments. It is a history of the village, history of the people that we should focus. We have been put in, so many ideas into our brain to think of only the grand narrative. That is why I said we have to reconsider the history of small villages. If it is the origin of people, either we think Indus Valley civilization or people in Tamil Nadu go to Kumari Kandam, which is non-existent under the sea. There are things sitting right on your foot, right on your seat. This is what we tell. Many villages we go for exploration. People say there is some inscription. There was some inscription. We don't know where it is, but this fellow will be sitting right on top of a stone. Below that there will be inscription. Sometimes they will be using the stone for washing clothes. There will be inscription. Therefore, the history is under our feet. It is under the earth, and we need to record this. This is what we call archaeological record. Archaeological record is a big book. It is like a book, for example, Kiradi, it is like a book of 1 kilometer length, 1 kilometer in width, and 3 meter in thickness. Every village has a book underneath. This is where students like you should start reconstructing the village history. Go to village, record oral tradition, record the monuments, record hero stones, record inscription, then you can create new history. Otherwise, if you are going to copy from the internet, copy from the book, what has been already written by Neelakanta Sastri or Romila Thapar, what is the point? So you shouldn't do that. You should create new knowledge. Therefore, you should go and document the knowledge which is available in the rural area. This is what I am trying to argue, that there is a big gap between professional historians, archaeologists, and public historian, public archaeologists. I have been seeing how PhD theses are written across India, how university, sometimes university, sometimes college lecturers, they are faring, but there are new group of public historians and public archaeologists emerging. Sometimes the students who are studying in the universities, they are conditioned by the textbook, conditioned by the syllabus. Sometimes public historians, they produce very good work. So we need to really question the authority of academia, which we used to think in our brain that academic is from university, he has PhD. No, that gap is reducing. Now there are people who are producing very good work. For example, recently, one Aravind Kanishetty has written a book on Chola history. Similarly, Sanjeev Sanyal has written book on maritime connections of Indian history. So what is lacking is many of the academia, many from that, they did not focus on the public and writing simplified narratives. They have been writing in a very terse language, very academic dissertation. They are not reaching public. Now, William Dalrymple, who recently wrote about Golden Road, he is blaming the academia. He says that academia failed to address the public awareness. That is why WhatsApp University and Facebook University has come up. We need to critically look at the way the PhD theses are written, the way the system that produces PhD theses, the kind of intellectual as well as commercial processes that are going on into producing academic scholars. We need to question, because public are questioning. Public archaeologists sometimes produce better material than the academic scholars. Sometimes there are academic scholars, university scholars who do not know internet, who are not doing any much research, but there are software engineers who are sitting in the US. They have access to JSTOR and all the knowledge, and they are writing better publication. I know so many cases where academic scholars abstracts are rejected in international conferences, whereas these kind of public archaeologists and historians, their abstract has been accepted because of their quality. That is why we need to critically rethink and relook at our academia and what we are doing. So therefore, we need to do all-round research and academic, academic condition. We need to be conscious of the custodians of heritage. Who are the custodians of heritage? Local communities. We need to sensitize the communities, and we have also ASA and state departments, religious organization. We need to work with them. What are the challenges? I'm not going to take much time. We have a lot of challenges facing these archaeological sites and monuments. We need to fight against urban expansion and developmental activities. We need to have a kind of dialogue so that contemporary society and their development is important. You know how the traffic is in Bangalore. It ranks, slowest, third or second across the world. So we need contemporary development. At the same time, we also need to preserve our heritage. That is why I argue holistic heritage as an important kind of approach. These kinds of monuments are getting destroyed. This is a prehistoric site within our university. These graph already I showed you. We need to have proper strategies for sustainable management. What are the strategies to be done? Strategies for sustainable management. We need to have a proper heritage policy. We have old policies, some of them created during the colonial period. We need to reassess, and then we need to develop proper site museum. Do you have a proper site museums or museums conveying the history of Karnataka anywhere? No. We have been keeping museum collecting object without any goal, without any meta narrative. This is where we also suggested to the government of Tamil Nadu that where do we have a kind of museum which tells completely about the Sangam history? No. So we should see museum as a kind of textbook. Museum as a kind of textbook which can be entertained and enjoyed by the students as well as the public. That is why I've been listing some of the site museum. We need to completely remodify to match the status of India being third largest economy in 2027. Actually, government has created 5 iconic sites and Adichanallur and recently Vadnagar and so many sites they have been doing. And Dr. Avi Kodisetter has done an excellent work in protecting some of the Ashmore sites in Karnataka like Kudathini, and we have so many megalithic sites, Rajan Kallur and there is Mallasandram near Hosur. They are completely destroyed. Sometimes the people also go and destroy searching for wealth. That is also very bad. That is why we are hesitant to promote normal tourism to archaeological site. People go, so let's say there is a plate of vada in which I keep 100 vada, there are about 80 people. If each one of them pick one vada, at the end there will not be 1 or 2 vada. Sometimes it happens in many of our seminars. People come and they keep their hand, especially people are fond of vada. If you go to an archaeological site, 1,000 people collecting 10 potsherds, that means 10,000 potsherds are gone. That is why when we go to archaeological site, we should not collect. We should promote a sensitive kind of tourism, heritage tourism management, development of modern museum. Our museums are boring. I'm not arguing for creation of museums everywhere. We need to do museums at select localities. They should be comprehensive to match the status of India being emerging as a major, economic power. And research and excavation, this is an area where a college like you, students like you can contribute to reconstruct the micro history, history of not great personalities, ordinary people, even day-to-day work. You can have even Bangalore history so much to do. How Bangalore emerged, where exactly these people who were making leather chapels were staying, various craft groups. Focus on these kind of micro communities. Even I would suggest some of the migrant, my friends tell me in many of the houses, they have housemaids. They have, their story. So many people from India, they are migrating to Gulf and they are working in the houses. They face a lot of problems. Similarly, people working in the houses of rich people, they have a story. Even they should be part of history. So these kind of nooks and corners, they should be reconstructed, not that, the prominent monuments that should be studied. That is what archaeology, landscape archaeology, we say. That is where holistic purpose and the strengthening of academic infrastructure. If you look at southern Indian ash bones, Karnataka, you see Dorian Fuller excavated. He came from Cambridge University, University College of London. He researched on the Karnataka ash mound, reconstructed history of agriculture in southern India. Similarly, Alchin came in 1963. But we are producing so many students. Why? Now, if you take Karnataka or even the Andhra and Tamil Nadu, there are very few archaeologists. Why we are not able to produce students who can do realistic research? If you take any dissertation produced at University College of London, Cambridge University, Oxford University, they are more than some of the PhD dissertations produced in India. Why? We need to ask, even after more than 70 years of independence, why we are not able to produce cutting-edge researchers in history. There are only countable number of historians, countable number of archaeologists. Why we are not able to produce serious researchers who can go to the ground and do real-time research like what has been done by Alchin and Dorian Fuller? I think that is the question we have to address our universities. All these NEPs, NAC grading, all that we are trying to show, we are trying to create documents, and I think these are not important. Your impact will be seen when there is academic output. This is where I argue the academic infrastructure needs to be strengthened. Salvage at many places, there are loose sculpture. They call it as loose. Sculptures lying in the villages, they need to be protected. We need to research, create a database, create a kind of cultural resource management system, and heritage education and sustainable heritage tourism. We need to spread this concept. We can create networking among various agencies, like we have Forest Department, Tourism, Archaeology, Hindu Religious Endowment. Some of these people do not understand archaeology. Simply, we applied for some excavation. They said these people will take over the land, so they will not give. That is what they said. So we should try to educate the own government machinery about archaeology. This is what happened in the colonial period also. When the British government was trying to protect heritage, some of them are destroying the monument. There was one Elgin who wanted to dismantle Taj Mahal and sell the marble. And near the Gangaikonda Chodapuram, they destroyed the compound wall and constructed the lower Anakat across Kaveri. So we have several cases where we need to educate our own government departments in understanding the importance of archaeological remains. Then public archaeology, engaging rural communities. This is very important. This is what Claire Smith says. To refit archaeology with new purposes and fresh aspiration that transcend the interests of professional archaeologists and serve the pressing present needs. So I can present paper, I can get a Scopus, Web of Science citation, I can go to foreign countries, but how it is going to help the community? Evolution of Claire Smith, who is president of World Archaeology Congress, she says that autoarchaeology as a tool for empowering indigenous communities to assert their human rights and integrating oral histories, local ecological knowledge to interpret ancient remains. This is where history of the marginalized communities comes into being. We should not think only inscriptions are the evidence, only archaeology is the evidence. This is what I tell my students. The most important source for human history is our own body, the body structure, the DNA, which is very important. If you say in a conventional narrative, only inscriptions and archaeology are the sources, others are not. If you completely neglect the oral tradition, we will be missing the history of the local communities. This is where we need to have a very balanced and scientific approach towards oral tradition as a source of history. There is a book article by Transformative Practices in Archaeology where they are trying to think these public archaeology and other initiatives. We also from academia, we have a very rigid mindset. We think scholars, they know everything. Sometimes local villagers will know more about the local history. There are local historians. It is high time that we give due importance to these local historians, but at the same time, we should not vouch for all these WhatsApp University, all the fake stories. We have to use the traditional research methodology to critically question the sources as well as the history written. Otherwise, it will become WhatsApp University or Facebook University everywhere. So we can create citizen archaeologists, we can engage the public, and social media and public interest in archaeology, it has grown. People are writing so many things which are nonsense, and this is where academy has a greater role to sensitize people. There are people writing about regional issues, caste issues, that is also to be critically questioned by archaeologists. This is where we need to organize a program for creating awareness. Sometimes even in the people in the academy also, they are also equally bad. We cannot just categorize all academy are good, all those in the public are bad. It is mixed. Similarly, we need to look at the development, public engagement, IT revolution, heritage, especially during the Corona time. People have been doing a lot of work in listening and learning about heritage. We need to look at this public archaeology as a viable alternative. We cannot expect government to appoint 200 archaeologists to take care of the cultural heritage. No. And we also need to give due representation to archaeology in the universities. We have been going on the conventional mode. Sometimes we don't teach archaeology, sometimes we don't give placement to archaeology graduates. That need to be addressed. We need to do responsible documentation. This is what I said. Whenever you go to the site, if you take 100 students to an archaeological site, if 100 students collect 100 potsherds, that's the end of the site. 1 lakh potsherds gone. That site will not be there. So when you go to a site, do not collect. Do not unnecessarily collect. This is one of the issues that we face. So these are the conclusions. We need to collaborate with the stakeholders and revise certain policies. We need to conduct excavation at priority basis, improvement in research infrastructure, development of modern impressive museums to tell local history. Even the history of Karnataka, as far as I understand, I want to understand the Karnataka history. I don't want to read a book of 100 pages, 203. I want to go to a museum. I want to spend 2 hours and learn Karnataka history, and that should be a museum. We went to Turkey, Sanliurfa. They have been excavating the site of Göbekli Tepe. They have created excellent museums. So archaeological monuments can be a source for local cultural development. I was working at Tirupunithura Hill Palace. The turnover at that time was 1 crore from the visitors' fee. And from that 1 crore, they were paying so many people. 200 people were employed. We were working as part of Kerala Government Institute. We understood many of the process of heritage management. So we can create these kind of infrastructure in the rural area to promote this sustainable tourism. Similarly, intangible heritage, I have not touched upon, culinary practices, so many things are there. So whenever we undertake research, we have to keep this in mind, and involvement of CSR funds and creation of cultural resource management. Suppose if there is a development activities, a government is spending 1,000 crores, they could spend 1% of that money or 0.5 for cultural archaeological documentation, which they are not doing currently because they fear we have so many red tapeism in India, everything will pull down the output. So that we need to be wary of. CSR funds can be used, preservation of archaeological findings, local repositories, people collect and keep it. So we need to have a centralized system where these are created, where the database is created, objects are kept, public awareness, heritage education. That is something we need to work. We need to work with the people, and networking of forest tourism and various government department. Already I mentioned active involvement of various agencies, like involving local bodies and public can be very beneficial. And in universities like this or departments like this can really work with the people. Now that's what many of the new education policy things also says. Don't give students just theoretical knowledge. I can talk about honey 10 hours, but simply putting a drop of honey in your mouth, I can make you to realize. So we need to adopt lived experience and immersive experience in understanding history. I can tell you one example from the knowledge that I learned from my father. I am from Tanjavur, Lower Kaveri Valley, where the Chola inscription talk about this agricultural yield. They talk about a unit called kalam. One ma, we still use that categorization. One veli is 6.6 acre, which is divided into one ma. Ma is a Tamil word for 1/20 fraction. My father used to tell me, so I know how much a land can produce. One ma can produce 25 kalam of paddy, out of which 5 kalam is given to the landowner. The rest of that is taken by the tenant who is cultivating the land. The same share of my land, my brother gives me 5 columns from that total yield, assuming that the total yield will be 25 columns. If you look at Rajaraja inscription, the temple servants in the 10th century, 11th century, they were given 5 column per veli, 100 column, 5 column per ma, 20 ma, 100 columns per veli. It is the same equation. So from there, that we understand one mark is capable of producing 25 units of column. But a person did a research on these inscription without the local knowledge. He argued, and there were certain cases they give only 2 column. For Irayeli and temple donation, the charge is less. That is why people wanted to favor. If you contribute to endowment, you get income tax relaxation. Same way in the medieval period, they had somebody who did not understand the local oral tradition knowledge argued that one ma is capable of producing only 2 column. See what theoretical knowledge sitting in the AC room produces. Therefore, as a historian, archaeologist, you need to understand people. You need to go for field work. That is why whenever I travel in Madras, Chennai, when I by auto, I talk to the auto driver. So without understanding people and community, you cannot be historian. Sitting in an AC room, looking at archival documents, you cannot become a historian. You have to engage with the people. You have to understand the history and culture and in their living context. Who produces history and culture? Community. Only working with the community, you can become a true historians. With these few points, I think that is the end of my presentation. Thank you. I would like to thank the college administration for the invitation. Sorry, I think I took a little bit of more time. This is a 2 hours presentation. I cut short within the short time. Thank you. If you have any question, I can address. Otherwise, thank you. Right. Thank you.
So good morning. So thank you very much for the wonderful presentation, and thank you for enlightening us. So I am a student of history too. My question to you, since you are talking about the public historians writing the history than the academic historians, I'm very much concerned about public historians writing the history. What happened in 1919, 2000, some public historians, especially the software professional, retired software professional from the European countries, they created so much of hype in the media, Indian medias, saying that they have deciphered the Indus Valley script. Later, an Indologist from the Harvard University, so he proved that they faked the data of the Indus Valley civilization, the seals of Indus Valley civilization, and used that data to promote the Hindutva ideology here. So, taking that into consideration and many such cases into consideration, I feel that history should be written by the academic historians who are why they are not writing? Because they are very conscious about committing these mistakes or distorting history because they'll be taken for task. Whereas public historians, they are not recommended by anybody. Okay, so I'm very much concerned about the public historians because academic historians are taught to write history. They have, they have studied the historiography and historical methods. I don't think so. The public historians, exceptional cases are there, like Manu S. Pillai, William Dalrymple, or so.
Okay, actually, there is a debate I know in which I've been familiar with. I'll answer this question. Okay, who should write history? Should it be done only by the professional historian? Should public also write history? My main point was, I'm not talking about the top class historians who are well trained. I'm not trying to, put any label on any places. Historians who are using proper methodology to write history. There is no question about it. But even within academia, there are people who work with certain agendas. So what I am trying to do is do not categorize as academia or non-academia and say everything that comes from academia is good, everything that comes from non-academia is bad. After all kinds of history writing is influenced by contemporary socio-political impact. We cannot escape. But what I am trying to do, if you look at some of the thesis production, some of the knowledge that comes out of so-called academia, it's not that good. Some of the public historians are good, but what you are raising is another important point. I did not take that into consideration. I would put everything into WhatsApp and Facebook University, even a poor quality history written by an academia should also be treated as a, this kind of WhatsApp or Facebook University. Whether it comes from academia, whether it comes from the public, if it is a history written without any methodology, it should be poor. It should be a poor kind of fake history or fake narrative or improper history. That's what I wanted to highlight. I wanted to highlight the degeneration of academia. Don't think the entire academia is, same. It is not. Similarly, entire public archaeology is not same. Public history is not same. Sometimes people are writing with some kind of agenda. There are many groups who are misinterpreting. I know I have seen so many Facebook, WhatsApp interpretation of history written by caste-oriented people. That is happening in India post social media revolution. People are trying to take the epigraphic evidence and try to use that to boost the image of their own caste group. This is also there. I would not consider them as public historians. So we need to define whom we should call them as public historian. They are enthusiasts. They are not historian. So if you qualify the term who is historian, who is a proper historian, that naturally cuts across both academia and the public sphere. Anybody who writes poor history in academia is also eliminated. Anybody who writes poor history from the public arena, they are eliminated. We should treat them as same, going across the horizontal level. That is what I am trying to argue. Basically, I am trying to deconstruct this academia as a holistic, uniform entity. That was my point. But I can tell you, sometimes local historians, they are good because a historian, I'll tell you, who's living in Chennai, he's going to write something has happened in remote Kanyakumari. This historian will not have time. He has to present a paper within 48 hours or even 6 days. He will not know even the area. He is writing history. But I'll tell you, there is somebody who wrote about history, somebody from different part of India See, they wanted to write Aurangabad. Then they wrote it is as Ahmednagar because they were not familiar with the territory. Sometimes people even cite, search Google and cite place name. Somebody who wanted to write about the Kaveri Pumbattinam. What they did was they went to Google and searched for Kaveri Pumbattinam. They got Kaveri Pattinam near Dharmapuri. So that map is there. So how do you say that? That means public archaeologists and historians also can create. I'm not, including the categories like what you said, like, fake narratives. It is there. I'm very much aware. I am trying to, create a category beyond these two kind of realms. Thank you. I think I have taken more time. If there is any question, I can address. Otherwise, we are running short of time. I think. Any other question? But thank you.
Put more time or?
Thank you, Dr. Selvakumar, for your enlightening and thought-provoking address. Your words have truly set the tone for today's discussions. Next, we have the honor of hearing from Dr. Tulika Bhattacharya, the Dean of Humanities, St. Joseph's University. I request ma'am to deliver her Dean's message virtually.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Am I audible to everyone? Hello. Thank you very much for the invitation and good morning to all present here. It's an honor to be a part of this national conference on such an important topic on conserving heritage, integrating culture, community, sustainability, which is organized by Jyoti Nivas College in association with St. Joseph's University, Bengaluru. As we all know that our country has a rich cultural history of resources and obviously it is indeed important to conserve our heritage through integration of culture, community and which will also promote sustainable development practices as well. As my previous speaker, Chief Guest Dr. Selvakumar has correctly pointed out that there are several ways we have different cultural histories of temples. We have rural villages, which many of us we do not know. So all those cases we need to aware our current generation, especially students, to make them aware that it is our cultural history because they are the ones who will help to conserve those resources for future generation. So I congratulate JC and SJU. And also, I'm sure you will be having a wide exchange of ideas from so many resource persons. Once I have seen the brochure, there are many resource persons and lots of other participants. So I am pretty sure that you will be into different issues. Students who are participating, they will also get several issues for research and for their further study. So I won't take much of your best wishes to all of you for having a very fruitful and enlightening conference. Thank you very much again, and thank you for this opportunity. Thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. We now move on to the academic segment of our conference, where we are privileged to hear from the two distinguished resource persons. First, let us welcome Ms. Yashaswini Sharma, the founder architect of Aesthetic Architects. I request Dr. Ms. Hakeem Zahra, student of first year BA, Jyoti Nivas College, to introduce our resource person.
It's an absolute honor to introduce Ms. Yashaswini Sharma, an architect, academician, author, and a researcher whose work stands as a testament to the harmonious blend of contemporary design, heritage conservation, and sustainability. With an MPhil in architectural research from Cardiff University, she leads Aesthetic Architects, a practice renowned for its innovative projects, and impactful community-driven initiatives. Her remarkable contributions include restoring Bengaluru's tangible heritage, such as the Kote Venkataramana Swami Temple and the World War I Memorial, and authoring the acclaimed book Bangalore, the Early City AD 1537 to 1799. Her expertise and passion have earned her prestigious accolades like Nada Prabhu Kempegowda Award for Heritage Conservation. I request Ms. Yashaswini Sharma to take over and share her invaluable insights with us today. Thank you.
A very good morning to all, and thanks to Jyoti Nivas College, Nalini Shekaran, who's been in touch for quite some time with me, and thanks to St. Joseph University for organizing this wonderful conference. I think this is a very relevant and present issue that we are looking at, the cultural heritage, conservation, preservation, and so on. And of course, thanks to the student for beautiful introduction as well. So today I'm speaking about architectural heritage, conservation and outreach. Of course, it's quite a daunting task to follow Dr. Shelva Kumar, who is a renowned scholar. When I speak about heritage, the first thing that comes to mind is why do we need to preserve heritage? Right? One thing is what is heritage? And the next thing is why do we need to preserve it? Because heritage informs identity. When I say that, every person is influenced by the cultural practices that they are born into, the environment they are born into, the stories they carry from their grandfathers, their parents, and so on. We are shaped by the built environment around us. We are shaped by the cultural practices that we are, surrounded by. So all of this make us who we are. If I was born in some other country, in some other place, I would be different. I'm born here, I'm shaped by the environment here. So my identity is formed, molded by this information, which is why I say heritage informs identity. Now, the issue of cultural heritage preservation, how it started, why it started, I have a small snippet from UNESCO, which I would like to play. Can you play that, please? You just need to click on that, it will play. Just to give a background before the video starts running, the issue of heritage, cultural heritage preservation came into focus post-World War. Because World War ended up destroying many monuments. There was widespread destruction. And suddenly there was a realization that we are losing everything that makes us. And there was this pressing need to preserve the various monuments, the various structures which were under threat of destruction. There were also natural events like flooding of the Nile, etc., which also brought in to focus that we need to preserve our cultural artifacts and monuments before they are lost forever. Were you able to play, please? Shall I come and try? Continue on. Sorry about that. There's some network issue. But anyway, you can even find this video on YouTube, which talks about cultural heritage preservation and how they lifted up the statues of the Ramses to avoid the flooding, the rise of the Nile River and preserve the monument. So how cultural heritage preservation started and how heritage informs identity and heritage's view is what is depicted in the video. Coming to it's not playing the slide. So why is it important? We were discussing about cultural heritage, that it includes artifacts, monuments, groups of buildings and sites, natural, tangible, intangible heritage. So there are three types, of course, majorly that we cover, and I am more, related to the tangible part because I come from architectural profession, so I am involved in architectural conservation. So that comes under tangible heritage. Of course, intangible cultural practices are, married within these monuments, and there is also natural heritage. So the international body that supports conservation and protection is, of course, UNESCO. That is where the rules come from, the definitions come from. And we have our own acts and we have our own bodies which also govern this cultural heritage preservation. So India is home to 43 World Heritage Sites, many of which are tangible heritage sites. We do have natural heritage sites as well. So recently, we know that sacred ensembles of Hoysalas were also inscribed into World Heritage. So this, with the annual worth, if you talk about cost benefit and monetizing and bringing revenue in order to self-generate for preservation, this is a $4.3 trillion economy that we are talking about. So next, I just explain that just to define cultural heritage preservation and architectural heritage. Now we come to architectural heritage conservation. Why do we need to do that? Because there is, architectural, cultural, and social, information there. There's also, it's also to preserve loss or gap in urban and rural memory. It is also something that informs sustainability and healthy living, social responsibility, and there are technologies here which can help us combat climate change as well. How do we do that? Usually in architectural heritage conservation, we restore. We also suggest adaptive reuse. We also conduct outreach within the community as well. Now, coming to scale of projects, I would like to talk about architectural conservation practice with practical examples. I'm going to introduce three scales of projects. One is a large scale project, which is a campus project rather, and a larger impact. Second is an individual building that we are trying to restore, 80% restoration done. Third is urban inserts, which have a lot of connection within the neighborhood communities. So these are the three scales that I'm going to touch upon. The larger comprehensive development program is the Chamundeshwari, the Prashad project, for which we proposed the concept proposal, which is accepted as well. But as with all the government projects, the TPR is done by somebody else. Now there is that discussion going on that. Restoration and adaptation of individual bungalow. I'm going to talk about heritage bungalow on the girls' high school campus in Malleshwaram. And the urban insert, a part of inscription stones of Bengaluru project, Hebbar Kittaya Ganga Mandapa. That is what I'm going to talk about. Coming to Chamundeshwari temple, I do not know how many people have visited. Have you all seen the temple? Have you all seen the hill? Please do interact. I like an interactive session. Yes? So if you have seen, have you gone to the temple? Have you gone to the surrounding areas? What all have you seen? Just the temple or the hill? Or did you just trek the hill? Okay. So Chamundeshwari Hill used to be called Mabbala Hills or Mahabaleshwara Hills, because the oldest temple on that hill is not Chamundeshwari, but the Mahabala temple, which is right behind that. That is a Hoysala period temple. And most of the crowd that goes to the hill right now does not visit it, because they do not know that that came first, or that there are Hoysala and Vijayanagara inscriptions in that temple. The Chamundeshwari temple, which was a small mother goddess temple, was developed later by Mummadi Krishnaraja Vadiyar, and that is when the importance changes and it morphs into Chamundeshwari Hills. This hill was not approached by road earlier. You had to climb the 1,000 and odd steps built by the Krishnaraj Vadiyar, and the road was actually laid down by during Nalmati Krishnaraj Vadiyar's time by Douglas Rice. Douglas Rice, incidentally, is the son of the renowned epigraphist B.L. Rice, Benjamin Lewis Rice, the archaeologist to whom we all refer to. He wrote the Mysore Gazetteer that forms the first reference if you want to do any historical research in this part. Not just that, he also wrote the Epigraphia Karnataka, the compilation of all the inscriptional data in Karnataka, in Mysore state region, the Kannada region. So this is a very good resource for us. So his son and Nalmadi, the Maharaja of Mysore, they were playing tennis apparently, and Nalmadi just brought up the issue of the hill not being navigable, and that his engineers, all of them had said that you cannot actually lay a road on this hill. So Douglas Rice said, let me just work this out. And he was able to propose a solution. Now, unfortunately, pipes have been put on the cut size of the road and there are collapses as well. This was also one of the issues that we had to deal with. Aside from Mahabaleshwara and Chamundeshwari Hills, temple, there are a few other temples around it on top. Now, this was not a settlement earlier. The Chamundeshwari neighborhood settlement came up later. Only the priest's house was there earlier. And what was interesting is that we came across a 1970 research document on it, where the subaltern worship was also described. The number of Aravattikes, I do not know if you are familiar with this word. These are caravanserais which used to exist along the highways, where buttermilk and other things were supplied to travelers. So things like that pop up on the hills, and they are built by different other communities. Kunchitika communities mentioned, and so on. So all of these are embedded in the hill. We also found that they were describing some 9 odd or 17 odd Nandis which were pointing towards Nanjani, Nanjangud. Now this we were not able to access. It is a biopreserve area. It is under protection right now, so we cannot go wherever we want. We can only go into the built footprint that is available right now. Apart from that, there is the big Nandi statue. I'm sure everybody is familiar with that. That was also built by Dodara Krishnaraja Vadire, including the steps going to the temple. Now, these are some of the cultural points there. There is also Devi Kere. Devi Kere is where Teppotsava or the light festival happens for the mother goddess. Water is also drawn from the well over there for Abhisheka of the deity. So we were just trying to map out, and we were trying to bring this into one comprehensive development plan when we proposed a solution. Now on top right now, if you go, there is a huge tourist influx, of course, during October season. Otherwise also you have VIP parking leading right up to the temple, and there's a commercial chaos before you go into the temple premises. Now, the project proposed by central government, it doesn't deal with the temple proper, because government should not actually be handling religious structures. So that comes under Mujrai department and state archaeology and so on. So when we suggested restoration of temple, we were directed to those departments, and we said, okay, fine, we will take it up later, but it has to be restored because the floor levels have changed now. And there are some introductions which need to be removed as well. So that was one part that we suggested. Now we came to campus development. When we came to campus development, we realized that Mahabaleshwara temple is completely lost and tourists actually do not go there. Whereas we were not even able to locate the GTS point there, which is Great Nautical Survey, which gives us our map, our distances, and so on. I'm not sure whether the history students here are familiar with Lambton Survey. But we were trying to figure out where the point may be, the GTS point, because these are the altitude points that were marked during the survey. So we wanted to bring that and the subsidiary temples in one particular prakara. Prakara is nothing but compound. So bring it in one particular compound, establish an entrance, mark an entry into that complex, regulate the movement of tourists, of pilgrims who come. When the tourism department said this is a tourism project, we said it's not a tourism project. This is a cultural project. And our primary target are the stakeholders there. Mysoreans themselves, people from Karnataka who go, who have a cultural connection over there, donors and so on. Tourism comes later. International tourism comes later. Maybe revenue point of view, government may have that kind of a viewpoint, but that we told them that this is not, actually right. And the primary stakeholders also include the royal family, which they have a long running dispute. So we did not want to go into the dispute, but we did interview the present royal Zeon informally, and he did give us some feedback as well, the connections between the royal family and the temple and the traditions that are intertwined over there. So we decided to bring all that information together while proposing this campus plan. So what did we do? We marked the entry. We gave a path into the prakara. There is this Salu Mandapa which goes around, which can also help in crowd movement. Now, architecturally, how should we propose a solution. We look at the timeline, we look at the post Vijayanagara details, we draw from it and propose pillars and other elements that are required. Now, again, when we were talking to Prashad officials, they said, this Vyala and all you can't introduce. Figural and all you can't introduce because that will again become a religious symbol. So you have to do a simple call. Then we also, incorporate that later on. But the walkthrough does have the Vyala columns. And we also, when we are looking at Chamundeshwari temple, Rathotsava is part of that. So the Rathavidhi needed to be defined, and where the present parking is, we proposed a congregation space there. What we realized is when you are worshipping the deity, there is also the offering of music and dance. And many of the kings of Mysore were themselves composers. And many singers from Mysore do sing these composition in the temple. Right now, there's no space. So we decided that space can be utilized as well for this purpose. The other part was dealing with the steps, which is the Bettat Pada. Now here we did not want to do too much interference, just reset it where it is damaged, and the steps are more or less comfortable. But we have norms now where we have to look at senior access, give water supply and sanitation. So bio toilets were part of the program. Also give handrails for elders so that they can hold. So that was a little bit of the solution. And the top, which marks the entry, the Rajagopura was also redesigned a little. Now on top where there's a Mahisha statue, the Mahisha statue is a later addition. It's in our mid 20th century addition. So there we proposed a plaza with information and QR coding so that you know what is where in the hill and you can plan a complete journey to all the all the significant parts of the temple. Based on the Arvatke typology, you have a Arvatke near Nandi statue. It is right now neglected in a very poor condition. So we took that typology and we decided that can be breakout spaces along the prakara where people can sit, families can sit, they can have a little bit of picnic, they can have a little bit of rest and so on. That was also incorporated for viewpoint and also providing water, drinking water, medical supplies, etc. This is the Kere conservation. There we wanted to look into the lake bund. After we proposed this, there was a collapse of the lake bund on one side. It needed to be restored. There is also a platform for the royal family to view the Tepotsava over here. We just proposed restoration here, not too much interference, with seating facilities and also information facilities. The other solution that we looked at is the Nandi statue. If you visit right now, you have a lot of shops which are propped up along the route that you go to the Nandi, right next to the statue. We proposed a pathway where vendors can actually sit, but they cannot use, non-renewable things like plastic and other things, commercial things to sell. Just what is required for worship, what is required for, rejuvenation, like they can even sell sugarcane juice and things like that. But we propose a bio solution for that, a green solution, rather than, take up rather than the metal sheds and whatever products they are selling right now. Along with that, we proposed a ramp because disabled access also should be there. Most of the monuments will not have it because that was not a consideration earlier. So we figured that providing a ramp access over here would be nicer because a lot of people come, and this isn't just viewed as a Hindu worship place. A lot of people come here for trekking, for spending time with family and so on. So we decided those opportunities should also be built in to that solution. This is a viewpoint. There are two existing viewpoints on Chamundeshwari. One which has got even telescopes built in where you can view the city. The other one doesn't have it, but it is also another viewpoint looking into the city because this is in a southeastern direction to the city center. So whatever solution we propose again came from the Arvatke typology that exists near the Nandi. The other thing is, we were talking about smart heritage, QR coding, providing information, also noting the number of people over there who are at the temple complex, regulating the number, having a cutoff. There is a space about 28 acres at the foot of the hills where we thought all the private vehicles can be parked and electric buggies can be taken so that people who are old, people who are infirm can also have access, but we can have a zero carbon footprint campus, right, on the hills. So this is what we were aiming for. Renewing the flower waste and so on from the temple, giving it to Agarbatti centers for Agarbatti production. This was also a solution we proposed. So sustainable approaches include waste management and solar lighting. Solar lighting can be implemented over here, unlike the other place that we dealt with, which is the Ramdev Betta, where it's a vulture sanctuary. We could not even propose solar lighting over there. But here we do have a scope of proposing solar lighting, and that may take off the pressure on the hill because you don't need to dig for pipe laying and so on, which has caused considerable damage next to the road right now. So these were the solutions that we proposed. I have a walkthrough video. I hope I can play this for you. Please. So that was the entire proposal. The Wadiyar Museum gallery was not part of the project later on because central government said it's a state government concern. Incidentally, we had also proposed a conservatory here of sacred plants, which have secondary uses in building construction and Ayurveda. That was also supposed to be taken up later. One of the learnings that came through this project when I was looking into Mother Goddess worship, I was looking at the first Devi Stuti and so on, and I realized that the author of the first Devi Stuti is a woman, and this is part of Rig Veda. Her name is Vak, and she's the daughter of sage Ambrini. So this also changed our view that women were not educated in India at that particular point of time, because many of the authors I found, in Rig Veda compositions to be women sages as well. So that was a good takeaway from us. For us, we also learned something from the project. The next project that I'm going to introduce is the restoration of and adaptive reuse of the government, the Heritage Bungalow in Government Girls High School campus. Not sure how many of you are familiar with it. It's in Malleshwaram, one of the areas of your city. Do visit when you have the time. Why did this bungalow come under consideration of restoration? Of course, the local MLA was also supportive of it. It was his initiative. So because of that support, we were able to take up the project, even though it is a BBMP property. Now, if you are an architect doing BBMP projects, you will realize how very rare it is for them to invest in heritage conservation. So we were very happy with it. This is the bungalow of H.V. Nanjundaya. H.V. Nanjundaya is the founder of Kannada Sahitya Parishad. He is also the founder Vice Chancellor of Mysore University. He was Chief Justice of Mysore Kingdom. He was also Revenue Minister in Mysore Kingdom. So there are a lot of accolades to this man. He was also a philanthropist who was very interested in girls' education, because his sister was herself a widow, and because of lack of education, she was not in a professional field, but he realized that she was very erudite and she could actually propose solutions sometimes when they were talking about revenue issues and so on. So he realized that, women's education was very crucial. Nalvaji at that particular point of time was also on a spree establishing schools and universities, and girls' education was in focus at that time. So when he passed away, in his will, he decided to donate his bungalow set in a 5-acre campus to the government to run a girls' high school. This is how it started. And the school ran in this bungalow for a long time. I have a personal connection because my uncle was an art teacher here till about 1990s. And it still functioned there. Now that the school has developed from LKG to UG and PG, it has become a major campus there. So the school has come out of the bungalow. The bungalow was used for official purposes for education department until we took up restoration. Now, what had happened in this bungalow? I'm just going to give a brief of the damages that we saw. Major causes of damage: water retention, cracks in the walls coming apart, and interventions, wrongful interventions done in the past, also adding to a lot of issues within the building. Moldings were, decrepit, and they had put paint wherever they wanted, and white paint to cover whatever damages instead of rectifying damage. Teak wood was damaged. The slab was also damaged. Madras terrace had failed in certain areas. Madras terrace roofing is a type of roofing where you combine timber and brick, lay it in 2 layers, and add limecrete and tiling. So that is Madras terrace roof. So this had failed basically because of their own interference. I'm going to talk about it later. If you see, the parapet has been redone in cement in the courtyard. Now, because they installed this parapet, they ended up destroying the entablature, which was above the column. Ergo, water seeped onto the rafters and water entered the slab, and the slab failed. So it was a simple act which led to that. Not clearing the rainwater downtake pipes is what leads to vegetation growing. There are about 15 to 20 trees on this bungalow. And one particular tree had a 20 feet long root going into the wall. The exterior of the building, it was a stone wall. So we had to carefully remove the stone courses, pull out the tree and then redo it. Now what we tried to do is put an organic solution and shrink the roots before we pull it out. If we can pull it out without having to dismantle the wall, it is a boon and we can, go ahead with the process. If we cannot do it, then we have to slowly dismantle and rebuild. So these were some of the issues over here. This is what I was talking about. Trees going into the corners, trees going into the wall, basically because there was no maintenance. A simple act of maintenance could have prevented this damage. So this is how we dismantle and we number the stones so that we don't put stones in irrelevant layers. So it's put back in place. And the cornicing and other bits were done. Now these cornices were not just decorative, they were there for a purpose. So this was when you put a cornice, when you put a drip water mold and a fascia board, it's actually protecting the timber reinforcement of the Madras terrace. So it's just not a decorative feature. These are some of the trees that we have pulled out. That is the famous 20-foot long root. We wanted to preserve for posterity, so we had a photograph also taken of that tree when it was pulled out. So this parapet, the cement parapet that you saw, luckily a little bit of the original parapet was left and we could figure out the design and methodology from it and rebuild the entire thing using the same technology. And we also built the corners and added fascia board, taking the references which were existing and adding the drip mold. We also discovered some pillars were embedded in some walls which were built later for classrooms. So we had to slowly figure it out and take it out as well. For us, there was a reference, a book written by his granddaughter, which gave us some insight into the lifestyle of the man. So we were able to figure out the primary uses of various rooms in this bungalow as well. And there was a 93 video of his son going around the building. He was talking about things like we used the shells from Madras and, for polish, for the lime wash and polish and things like that. We can't do that now. We use aloe vera because we can't mine shells out of sea right now. There is a policy of, coastal policy regulation. The other bit that we found, this was a discovery of sorts. When we were removing the paint layers, in conservation practice, you don't just, take a machine or, scrape it out. You remove it by hand very carefully. When we were doing this, we observed a little band going on the wall. So once we observed that, we asked our workers, who are all skilled laborers, to go very slow on it. After removing 3-4 layers of paint, we came across artwork and silhouettes. Incidentally, that pine silhband we found on Christmas Day as well. It was quite amusing that we found it on, Christmas. We also found Victorian Baroque filigree, which was hidden behind layers of paint. After removing all that white smear, we discovered it's a grapevine. So this was another thing that came out. The glass that was used in the upper gallery was all Victorian edged glass. Now, earlier, to produce this kind of an edged glass, they used to have acid. They used acid to produce this. But now that practice is banned due to health concerns. So what we use, our glass conservationist who is based in Mumbai, she produced the glass using sandblasting. There's a little difference here. The original glass was 2 mm. We do not get 2 mm glass now. We only get 3 mm, which is the minimum. So there was a little compromise that we had to do. We could not, exactly match the original, whereas we always try to match to the original as per conservation norms. to look at the material source, the source stone where it was required in some places. We went to IISc, the Center for Sciences there. They did a petrography of the stone. We found that it came from Closepete belt. We had to source granite from Closepete belt. So we did that, and NIAS tested lime water for us. When we mixed lime water again, we sent it to NIAS time to time so that we have some kind of a balance over there. We can match the original property. Now, organic additives go away over a course of time. I'm sure Dr. Shaila Kumar knows more about it than me. And we had to figure out the additives. ASI has come up with a particular kind of mixture. The original admixture of lime plaster has about 15 ingredients. We do not use all 15 now. We use about 3 or 4 organic additives right now. We're trying to figure out whether we can produce the original admixture. There's a research project we have proposed. Hopefully, we'll get funding and we'll be able to take up that research at some point of time. This is also another part of the filigree work, which was redone by an artisan from Agra. This is the process of redoing Madras terrace. Now here, the timber that was used was all teak, Burma teak wood. Much of it was rotted away, but what we do with that kind of wood is we cut away the rot part and we try to stitch it up and make another rafter with it or another beam with it, because we do not like to waste original wood. Whatever is healthy, we reuse. There's a way of doing the lock. There is a way of doing the joint with the key so that the rafter does not fail and the load does not fail. Now, this is usually placed in 1/3 portion of the rafter, not in the middle, because if you are placing in the middle, again, bending moment, the slab will fail. So our carpenter is actually standing on the rafter to show that, it is stable. And they're replacing the rafters that was damaged. For the replacement, we ordered Matti wood. This is a government project. We can't be ambitious and ask the government to supply us with teak wood. I'll probably be dismissed from the project if I propose teak wood. It is unaffordable now, and we are using public money, so we had to be judicious with it. Even after we recorrected the slab, the rafters, etc., on the upper gallery, I found that the slab still had a little bit of a sag. And I was thinking, why is this sag happening? So I asked our civil engineer to do a little cut on the terrace and see what has happened over there. Now, PWD in his infinite wisdom, or whoever was in charge at that particular point of time, decided to rectify the water seepage by putting another slab of RCC on top of Madras terrace. So you are adding load upon load unnecessarily. We had to remove this by hand. We cannot use mechanical drills on a heritage bungalow. This is a 107-year-old bungalow. It was built in 1915, and it was one of the first all-electric homes to come up in Bangalore. So we removed that entire thing by hand. Then we found the faults in the terrace, redid the parts which required redoing. Madras terrace, the biggest thing, advantage is that the damaged portion can be built in. Whereas RCC, if it fails, the entire slab you will have to rebuild. That is the advantage of a Madras terrace roof. So we rectified this, redid the slabs as well, the sloping roof as well. This is cleaning the original Mangalore tiles and relaying it. This shows the organic additives and what goes into making lime water lime plaster. You have jaggery, you have got vilva, you have got adalekai for binding, for protection against for waterproofing. And the various molds that we used are also present over there, the cornice molds as well. So when you mix for lime plaster, you don't actually put in water here. You put 50% of that adalekai or karkai water and 50% of jaggery water, fermented. So that is what binds and holds. And lime water, lime plastic strengthens over time and the wall breathes. So you will have a healthier life. Now, even if the temperature is 34 outside, inside this building, it will be 24. Also, of course, the walls are thick and the heat transfer will be very low. So these were some of the advantages. So you will not need HVAC if you are going to build with this kind of technology. And you can build up to G+2. Somehow we are taken with cement construction, especially post 1970, and we don't think in other materials. But now many people are innovative. They have come up with hemp bricks. There's an architect who has also built his house in paper. I have to go and see it. There's another person who used reusable, recyclable materials to build a house on Sankey Road. That is also another, innovation. The architects who used hemp bricks are placed in Himachal Pradesh. It is antifungal as well. Antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral for you. So these are some of the advantages of traditional building construction. How did we stitch up the cracks? We used metal clips, we used stone lintels to, rebuild the walls and rebuild the fault lines. This is a demonstration of how we built Madras Terrace. We did some demos for architectural students who came and visited the site as well. This is part of our outreach because we do not want our site to be a place where people cannot come and see the technology. We want people to come. So neighborhood community also visited, HV and family visits time to time. Students from architecture, ASI has come, state archaeology people also have come. Recently, Kempegowda Heritage people also came and had a look at the conservation practices. Other architects are also coming and looking and, interacting with our workers, with us, so that the learnings are carried forward. I think this needs to be done on a bigger scale. So this is I'll try. This is the fascia board as well, which is put. Now, when we read this, since we are proposing as part of adaptive reuse, we propose some immersive spaces, some experiential spaces here. So we had to go in for insulation. When we looked at the materials available for insulation, like PU or gypsum board, we found that they were unhealthy. Now, PU, polyurethane, is actually carcinogenic. Gypsum board is tumorogenic. So we ruled out using that. We took rock wool, we bound it in cotton, and we used it in a layer below the sloping roof. We also added metal reflector sheets so that the space is healthy as well. So these are some of the concerns that when you practice sustainable architecture, you do not want to use material that's harmful to health. This is a rebuilding of Madras Terrace. I'll go a little quicker now because we are running out of time. I'm just going to explain adaptive reuse. We proposed a museum where even the building is an artifact, which concentrates on experience, interface, celebration, the tangible narrative, and collaborative heritage. Because this is a neighborhood museum, we wanted to introduce Malleshwaram to people. So Malleshwaram Museum of History talks about Malleshwaram neighborhood, how it came to be, the old maps, model of Malleshwaram neighborhood, including epigraphical data. There are 2 inscriptions, one which gives place name of Malleshwaram, which is next to Kadumallikarjuna temple. The other one is in IASC, which talks about a tiger hunt. So both of these are very, important to Malleshwaram. So we were going to have replicas done over here and an interactive space called Dibbana. I'm just going to go through the slides, not explain too much. We also added a Kannada language library over here, language lab over here, which talks about the development of script. We found that this would be interesting to the students who come to the school. So we wanted to have this as a free access space as well for the students. There is a video, I will not play this video. Dancer Rukmini Vijay Kumar, who is a Bharatanatyam exponent, has come twice to this place and shot 2 videos, Malari and another one. It also shows the process of conservation, and the videos were used to generate income for artists who were out of work during COVID. So anyone interested, please go on YouTube and, look at it. She's a friend of mine, so she came here and also gave feedback on how spaces could be used, as well as Dr. Deepthi Navaratna from NIAS. She also gave us feedback on acoustics and how the Ribana can be used for music performances. We have had architectural exhibitions running even during the process of restoration. This was an exhibition by BMS College of Architecture. They did a study of Malleshwaram neighborhood, and this exhibition was open to public. Anybody could come, interact, and we had a lot of interviews of the community, which went into feedback for the project as well. So now we are coming to urban inserts. I do not know how many of you are familiar. In 2018, we found an 8th century inscription in Kannada in Hebbar. That actually gives us information about place name Hebbar. It mentions Sri Purusha Ganga King, so 750 common era. And the Kannada script from that time, which is a little more relatable to Brahmi, rectangular one. It was deciphered by Dr. P.V. Krishnamurti. It talks about Perballal Nadu. So Nadu is an administrative territory. Administrative territory for 30 villages, because it says Perballal Nadu Muvattu. It talks about the invasion of Rashtrakutas over Ganga kingdom and how this person perished defending his neighborhood, Kitaya. So he becomes the first documented Bangalore citizen for us. We thought it was very important to preserve this legacy. If you see, the stone is set with 3 other stones. It was set in on the boundary of a road. This would have been the village boundary, and it has become road later on. Interestingly, even B.L. Rice had documented it as a hero stone. They did not know there was inscription. When the stormwater work started, because the neighborhood people wanted to preserve these stones, they called up a historian friend of ours who had kept in touch with them, and they said the work is starting now. Now, stormwater drain work, etc., it will happen before elections. Every time there's an election, road work will start, so that the politicians also get credit for that. So since they were going to start the next day, people from the neighborhood and this historian group, they dug it up manually with their hand, because nobody else was ready to touch it. There was also this superstitious belief that something bad will happen if you touch it or if you remove it. That is there in all the cases. You can only, overcome that through education. So once they dug it up, they found inscription underneath. Once they found the inscription, they sent the photograph to P.V. Krishnamurti. Inscription Stones of Bangalore was a group of volunteers started by Uday Kumar, my friend, Uday Kumar Pier. Now this is part of the Mythic Society program. They're doing it in a big way. There's good funding. So they are redocumenting all the epigraphical data in Karnataka. A very good project where 3D scanning is happening. You will have the data at your fingertips. Even now, if you go on Google Map, you can access the data because it's all mapped onto Google Maps now. So when we were trying to do that, he came to me and asked me, said that, we want to preserve these stones. Now the neighborhood, the Patela over there, he said he wants to preserve it in situ. Most of the times endangered epigraphy is moved to museums. Once it is moved to museums, the relevance of the neighborhood is lost. Unless you go over there and see it, you will not know. Not many people know that Bengaluru, the first mention is there in Begur temple, the inscription, right? But Begur hero stone has already been moved to government museum. The battle is already moved to government museum. Not many people know about that. So these were some of the concerns. To preserve it in situ, there's one more inscription stone and 2 Yandra stones here. He said in situ, the space was very limited. So we had to measure the pedestrian path available, the road turning available. And I came up with a small mandapa. Designed it in Ganga style because to keep the relevance to Ganga period, incorporating certain elements from modern architectural requirements, NBC keeping the tread and the riser to that particular size, so that we also know that it was built now in 21st century. And to construct this, what the solution that we came up with was we need community engagement. Unless community engagement happens, nothing can be preserved. This was local history. And once people in Hebbal realized that Hebbal was mentioned here, they started giving the surname Hebbal to the children born over there. It changed. When we went to the place, there were a lot of these drug addicts and jobless youth who were going around, pickpocketing happening in this place. And once we constructed the mandapa, it is all disappeared. They have a sense of ownership as well. This took some time. We did some talks, we did neighborhood engagement, we talked to people. The Patela was very much involved in the project, and they all came together. Going to the government again would have been a tedious process. So Udaya came up with a solution, 3D scan the inscription, make brass replicas, and give it to whoever donates for the construction of the mandapa. So we pegged it at 2,600 rupees, half of which went into production of the replica and half into the construction of the mandapa. Raised 25 lakhs, built it within a year. So I'll just show you the images. This was the inscription that was found. You can see the bottom half of the inscription, how it was in 2017, and once it was dug up in 2018. The production of this brochure along with the replica to generate funds for this particular mandapa gave two designs. One is an interpretation of Ganga style, and one is the Ganga style that you find in Kapileshwara temple in Manne. This is the mandapa that was proposed. And we constructed also using lime mortar, the base. You can see the construction of the Adhisthana here. And the mandapa was built by 2019 December. Inaugurated during Sankranti in 2020, right when COVID set in. So this is how it looks now. It is preserved. And documentation and outreach, I'll just go through very quickly. Besides this, we believe that undocumented heritage buildings need to be documented. Those which are not protected under ASI or state archaeology, they are more under threat in the city. Of course, we have a real estate mafia that also operates. So we have to be careful about what can be preserved and what's under threat and document it first, at least for posterity. So under this, we documented Kote Venkatramana Swami Temple, the building which houses the Institute of Culture, the Cultural Historic Research Center, Indian Cultural Historic Research Center, the ICHR. And it used to be Students' Union building in front of Central College. That also we have documented. We've also come out with publications which are accessible to the public now. And heritage walks at various heritage sites to engage with people. So this is documentation of Kote Venkatramana Swami Temple, documentation of ICHR, the process. Kote Venkatramana Swami Temple, we again found the inscription which gives the data that Chikdevaraja Vadiyar built the temple. We made a small replica and donated it to the temple as well, so that they don't have to go to Kotnur all the time to look at it. And the Maharaja inaugurated that and released this documentation report. There's of course my book on Bangalore city, which also gives you a little bit of relationship between Shilpa Shastra principles and how it can be interpreted with the market town planning. Some of the things that we do, we publish the documentation that we have done so that people can actually access it as well. This is Janta Bazaar. Janta Bazaar, is under the threat of demolition. By some accident, it was found that it was actually designed by G.H. Krumbigal, who led a horticultural revolution here. He is responsible for seasoning, blossoming of the trees as well. You have a famous Krumbigal road running around Lal Bagh. So he came in as a gardener, horticulturist, ended up as a chief architect of Mysore Kingdom. He designed this building. It is in Art Deco. To preserve this, we also had some support of German consulate. They're also involved. They also came for the heritage walk. The speeches by the Prince of Mysore was also read out by the Royal Zeon. So some of these activities also go into outreach. This is an outreach which engages school kids. These are school children from Delhi Public School, National Public School, who came to Bhoganandishwara. They were introduced to temple architecture and how those auricular forms actually come, how the enchantment forms actually come. So we taught them with using paper and sticks and so on. And the kids ended up identifying each element of the temple structure. So children are very open. You can engage with them and you can bring the knowledge right to them. It is just that we haven't explored that particular avenue. So this is about the engagement with the public. With this, I will end my address. I hope it was interesting for everyone.
If you have any questions for ma'am, please speak to her after the session. We will now move on to the second session. We will now move on to the second session by Ms. Immaculate Anthony, the founder of IMA Creation. I request Veronica, student of 3rd BA Jyotinivas College, to introduce our resource person. Good morning, everyone. It's my honor to introduce Ms. Immaculate Anthony, an accomplished leader with over 20 years of IT experience in top companies like Wipro, Zenzer, and Ensign Gold. She has successfully delivered complex IT solutions, excelling from programmer to senior management roles such as general manager and AVP. In 2015, Ms. Immaculate Anthony founded IMA Recreation, an initiative reviving over 150 traditional games from Indian and global cultures. These games, handcrafted by 30 plus Indian artisans, are eco-friendly and promote bonding between generations. Her work has impacted lakhs of people across schools, communities, and corporates. With a notable achievement in the Singapore Book of Records for conducting 106 games for thousands, Ms. Immaculate Anthony is also a recipient of Women's Entrepreneurship Award 2021 and an IIMV NSRCEL Incubate. With her efforts widely recognized by media and organizations, please join me in welcoming Ms. Immaculate Anthony to share her incredible journey and insight.
I'm really very grateful to be here because, greetings everyone. My heartfelt gratitude for inviting me here because I always personally felt in the world of history, architecture, culture and all that, there is one bit which is completely ignored, which is actually games. Like all of you talked about it, my previous speakers and everybody talked about it. This is the living heritage of the past, right? And fortunately, it is living heritage of the present also. And like Sar was telling, like ma'am was telling, even this is current history also, right? Even this has to be preserved and passed on to the next generation. And that is the only thing which we are trying to do now, because what we have done, we have restored more than 150 plus games which are played across generations. Okay. Then we have, by restoring, we said like this is intangible culture, right? So I thought I will bring some tangible boards which you have recreated. So when we say 150, you can count and see there are more than 150 Indian traditional games are there. And for us, it is not restoration like ma'am was telling, everybody else was telling. It should be living heritage. You know, the spaces should be used, people should be played, and this I am confident each and every one of you can contribute. Whether you do document local history, you do document local architecture, you do document local culture in terms of games. Okay, local culture also I have to give credit. Lot of you, our academicians have captured oral tradition, oral songs, Natupura Paattu, something like that. You guys have captured, and folklore stories captured. Games, no, not even one. Okay, even historians and architects, when they dug up every site, found a dice, found pieces, they will only document the dice. They will not even call it as a part of a game piece. Okay, because game board also will be not be there. So what we have done, we have recreated them because we know we can't use the original boards, but it is easy to replica with whatever we have. So we have replicated it and we have taken them to people. And how do we restore? Because nothing is documented, nothing is this. We actually used, so this I already talked about. See, recreation of these games, you know, when they started, as old as civilization has started. Okay, so even caveman played. I was talking to St. Joseph students. I even told them our civilization didn't become great when fire was invented. Our civilization has become great when human being realized he can do something for recreation, when he can laugh, when he can do something which to entertain him. Apart from, you know, gathering, hunting and eating, they did something to recreation. That is when brain development started. That is when interpersonal skills, that is when, you know, motivation and hand movement, everything started. So that is why our games are prehistoric, even ancient to caveman's era, even before architecture, even before everything, games existed. And it is our responsibility. And they are criminally low documented, low research, low listed. They're not even thought about, you know, part of our history, culture, and heritage. Okay, that is our thing. So that is why luckily, this tradition was, you know, preserved and given it to next generation. You know by whom? Can anybody guess who did this? Can anybody guess? Did you guys play some games? Okay, this question I have to like frame it very carefully. Have you guys played games using things around you guys, not man-made? Because when I asked this question, have you guys played games around us? What did you guys answer? Again, they all said, yeah, using mobile games. Then I have to classify things around us without using, yeah, yes, ma'am. Stones, using sticks, okay, using like just a stick and a flower, you know, that the very famous cup and ball or kendama, it's stick and a flower, caveman era, drawings are there. And lot of things you can play only using seeds, tamarind seeds or any seeds around you, okay, and lot of things you can play only using sticks, only using leaves, you know, stones, gilli dandu and all that. So again, like I was telling, every historical site has games and they are listed, you know, for every excavation, Indus Valley to Keeladi, even your local thing and local temples. Ma'am was talking about temple restoration. I was looking for one word somewhere, how to restore that floor. Because lot of these games and there is a lot of cultural thing. I will make it fast. I know I have only 10 minutes. See, in the temple, even today, if you go to temple, you pray to God, you come out and sit for a minute and come out. Why? Why? Because we don't know the meaning. We just sit and came back. The reason is you paid your respect to God. Now pay your respect to the fellow human being. You just leave two human beings. What they do, they fight. So what they did, they have put all the engravings on the floor. If it is on the floor, boys and girls, my fellow speakers, it is a game. People sat there and played with each other. And game is what made people realize what kind of a person you are. And games is what make you realize what kind of a society it was, what kind of societal values there were, what kind of bonding was there, what kind of respect was there, and all that. And you also know ancient games were preserved because in ancient Rome, whatever games were played as funeral games, like Bahubali is true. Bahubali was true historically, not the story. I'm sorry, not the story, but the Rajamata conducted, sequence of competition to hand over the land, right? That is what ancient Romans did. That is what ancient kings did. Why? Because if you divide the land and give it to the next person, the kingdom will become weak. Then competitors will come and capture it. So they didn't give it, divide and give. They actually conduct series of games and competitions to find out who is worthy, let him inherit. Not the first one, not the second one, not the third one. All the funeral games of Rome were only become Olympics. Do you guys know that? Most of the Olympic competitions were funeral games of finding the successor for the empire. Okay, but all these things are completely lost. And even common people, they were sitting and playing these games in the Indus Valley civilization. There are places where people played games. Okay, but we don't know what those games are. We don't know how they played. We don't know why they played and all that. So my humble request is, we should not be the generation. The problem is, these games were handed over 2 generations by grandmothers. Grandmothers took it upon themselves to play in the family because these games were useful. They were inclusive. They were creating bonding. They were entertaining. They were engaging. Plus, they were building characteristics. Plus, they used it to inculcate social values. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, without doing any effort, these games survived until 1970. What happened in 1970? We got TV, after games got forgotten. Then 2000 and 2000 later, we got mobile and games became past history. Okay, but this is our responsibility. Like Principal Ma'am was also telling, it is every generation's responsibility to preserve these treasures and pass it on to the next generation. How do you pass it on to the next generation? Not by documentation, not by putting it in the museum, not by you do all that. I'm sorry, you definitely do all that, but make it a living thing. Play with your people, play with your next generation and all that. So this is how we are preserving. We started with 20 games. I also thought 20 games is all we have. You guys know Pannambuli, right? So most of you know this game. Most of you know this game. All of you know this game. How do you know? Because thanks to grandparents. This is played even 10,000 BC. It is played in Egypt, that Tutu's grave, it is there. Thanks to your grandparents. But now we start playing, now next generation will not even know. Even now next generation asks, is it the painting board or is the Excel? Okay. All know this game. I also thought we have only these 2 games. In using this one single game, you can play 5 different games. Every single state in India plays this, and same game you will find it in Mayan, Aztec. Okay, and offline chat with, I was talking to Dr. Selvakumar sir, even Romans played, yes, this Rome. Romans played, called Rota. So games traveled, games survived until the invent of mobile. And it is our responsibility to preserve, pass it on to the next generation. This is what we did. I didn't even know I'm preserving history, intangible asset, nothing. We were doing it just for recreation and bonding. That is one thing we thought this society needs, which is forgotten. So we started in 2015 only with 20 games. When we conducted 20 games, to a school I went and played. That school realized the importance of these games, how it is shaping children, because last period, children, instead of looking out, like most of you are doing, instead of going home, you are going to food, you are sitting and listening to me, right? So students were doing. So one parent asked me to do Halli Habba for 40 people. Based on my IT experience, I thought, why not? By then I know 40 games because the grandparents who come to pick up children taught me some games. So when I have to conduct 40 games for 40,000 people, I need game boards. The shameful thing is Indian games are not available in India or anywhere. So we need to go and make the boards, we need to go and make the dice, we need to go and make the goatees, we need to go and make the things, and we made people play. After playing, people said first day, it was a 2 days program, first day after playing, people wanted to take the boards home, go home. Because we were telling, no, I want it for the next day, but they wanted to take it home. They said, how irresponsible you are. Now we learned the game, we want to play. They took the game boards and went. That is when we realized there is an opportunity to make and sell these games. So we got them made again, like architecture, Madam Restoration, how she struggled. We also struggled to find the artisans, to find the material, because we wanted it to be eco-friendly, how it was played in olden days. So we are not there. We are not at architecturally how olden day people played, but we made a crude board. We made people play. Now it is all universities like Christ, St. Joseph's and Reva, and those universities realized the importance of these games and the interpersonal skill it develops. So they took it. The NGOs are the first ones realized. That is when we realized society had an implicit need which nobody was paying attention. Society had these rich treasures in front of our eyes, nobody was paying attention. So this is what we said, we made it, and it has to be a social enterprise. I don't want these games to become, I don't have anything against Toys R Us or Hamleys or Chinese toy manufacturers, but we should not become commercial. It has to be like how they played in olden days, you can even draw and play. Okay, so this is what we are doing. We are doing it only for this, and now we will get to know why we have to restore. See, this is little bit, we are selfish generation, I think. We want to see why I have to restore and take it to the next generation, right? Why? What is in it for me? What is in it for you? This is the interpersonal skills it develops. It is actually even very relevant nowadays also. If you play together, you will stay together. And this is not me. That UNICEF 10 list of skills, none of them are IT skills. None of them are other skills you can get by learning. AI skills, yes, of course, you take a degree, you will get it. Big data, you will get it. Customer service can be taught. But these are all the things which are inculcated values. This is what I call it as a social values. None of them, even 2023 economical survey says 10 skills needed for the future. Few of them are IT, big data, AI. 3 of them are IT or engineering and science related skills. But majority of them are values, social values. So these are all the skills, all of them, you ask any of my, not just students, any of the parents, teachers, everybody will stand by this saying that these games definitely develop these things. Okay. So we do, how do we do? Like I said, no, we only gathered this by conducting, not by, we did go to the museums. We did, identify. See, this is another example of how these games are engraved on the floor. I do understand archaeological survey, whoever is restoring that buildings and temples, I do understand you need to pave the floor. While paving the floor, you don't even take a picture and document, like 3D graphics, take a picture and document, replicate it with something else. Okay, it may not be. The one big question archaeological survey asks is, how do you know whether it is 18th century or 18 days back some tourist scratched it? You don't know. You don't know, but it doesn't mean that is not relevant. It may not be 18th century history, but it is today's history, today's thing which has to be preserved. How they played, how it is played and all that. No? At least take a picture, document it and replicate it. When you are building a breakout spaces for people to sit and relax, put 1 or 2 games which is found in that temple. I can tell you there is no temple without this carvings because it is part of our culture. And I can go on and on and on. This is how they found the match for their girl to get married. This is how they found the girl, whether she's capable of running the family. Okay. And Jallikattu and Kadamba, that games are all like that. Okay. It is part of our religious festivals. Lot of games. And, these kind of boards are also lost. So how we are preserving? I did go to 22 state museums. And one of the best museum which has some of the games are in Bhopal. Okay, Mano Museum. Okay, there also games should not be in the museum. You want people to come to museum, take the boards in that museum, replicate it, conduct games. They will come and live the history. They will come and carry it forward the history. You want to restore it and make it as a living space. Space should be used. These games are non-damaging ways. Okay, people sit, have a communication, conversation. I can show you pictures after pictures. Nandi Hills, we were given opportunity on a trial basis for 3 months to do this. A girl from Ukraine, girl from Russia, they didn't even know they are from those 2 different countries. Played, became friends, then only asked, where are you from? Okay. Guy from Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, played together. Okay, took pictures, took selfies and went. If the game is not there, they wouldn't even say hi to each other. I have found that picture, I think. One foreign guy, one village guy. I was teaching Golden Tiger to a foreign guy. One village guy came and pushed me out, saying that you will lose to a Gora. Sorry, that's the word he used. Let me play and win. See, he played and win. Both of them went and had chai together. Okay, so these games potential are endless. Okay, and this is how we capture from living memory of people. And again, you are capturing local culture, please do so. Please do capture local games played there. See, this is one game played almost everywhere in India. It's also called Nine Man More, is played everywhere in Europe. Even today it is popular as a pub game in England. But one lady, old lady from Haryana, she must be 80 plus. She came and taught me another way of playing that game. World will be actually mind blown if they're looking for. Because one game played in one way, and only 2 academicians are very interested in this, because game scholars very less. One Irvin Fennekel he is very old, of US, UK, and there is one more Ulrich Schindler of Europe. One guy, he is doing it, and somebody in Argentina. Only 3 people. When I gave it to them, their mind was blown. Ulrich Schindler found one game, Mysore Maharaja. He's an avid gamer. How many of you know? I went to Jai Mahal Palace, asked them where are Mysore Maharaja's games. Curator asked what games. Then I have to rephrase it saying, okay, his tapestries. Tapestries are in 4th floor. All the tapestries, girls and boys, they are games. Avid gamer he is. He designed a lot of games. He also played a lot of games. Only one of them he revived. Okay, and again, I am not an academician, right? You guys said I'm from IT background. I'm using that only to capture. All these are rare games. This guy, I recently, December, I was in book festival, 10 days it was running. First day he came, he saw one game, and the way I documented, he said, you have documented it very simply. I know very complex way of playing. He went back, he contacted all his relatives of his age, US, UK, everywhere, came back after, because the book festival was running for 10 days. He came back on the 8th day and documented this is how it is played. Okay, then we realized it. There are 2 different ways of playing the same game. Pandyan King played the same game, even called Pandyan Tuli, played with Pearl. Even now, and very complex rules are there. We have documented 35 different ways of playing in South India only. South India, Mankala, and it is played in Africa also. If somebody researches, they can prove that world was together, all continents were together. Okay, this is a one. There are one rare book, Asiatic Society has documented one game called Karwa, and some of the British engineers, when they went around, he has just written the explanation. This is how it is played. Pallanguni always played in the same direction. In every South Indian culture, Indian culture, first player plays in the same direction, second player plays in the same direction. One document, Asiatic Society documented it saying that in Karwa region, they played first player play in one second direction, second player play in another direction. One guy there, he showed me that game, and that documentation guy written it. We don't know how the game concludes. He showed me how the game concludes. So that is how I'm calling it as we are sowing and reaping. We teach people games, they teach us bad games. Okay, and society supports. Society put their own money, their own effort, their own research, and come back and tell us, they are ready to tell us, but we should be available, we should be approachable. That is where we are lacking. See, we just by sitting in Rangoli Metro Art Center, Nandi Hills for 3 months, and the book festival for 10 days, if we can capture these many games from living memory of people, how many games we would have lost? Okay, we don't know whether we have, I think I have covered my point. See, ideas for collaborate, I leave it to you guys. If not anything, go to your grandmother, learn a game, play with your friend, you are preserving history. Okay, and if you see that, we have limited skills, limited resources. I am using the word we, it is only I, me, myself. Okay, one single woman organization, we work with volunteers, interns and all that. If we could do this much, little bit, if academicians and historians and you guys put your hands together, how much you can do. Okay, with this, I think I will, this is all my dreams. We don't even know how many games are there. Okay, so you can see the patterns, it's all there in my YouTube channel. Okay, and word games, number games, card games, we don't even have time to look at it. There are plenty of them. Okay, it feels very bad for me to just see them and move around, Okay, so these are all living history, please preserve. Okay, so, you guys know how to research, where it is originated, how it traveled, how it is available at the same time in, Mayan as well as in, travelers. They used only, every fort will have these games. They used this only to find out with whom to do this. Okay, so these are all some of the boards. And I can assure you, if you don't believe me, these games harness your interpersonal skills, logical thinking and all this, take another session just to play games. Okay, games, let games will talk, let games do the talking. We should not talk about games. Games should do the talking. Okay, I think with this I will finish my presentation. Any questions? This is what we have done. This is how we collected the games also. We were really lucky. And Singapore, they mentioned it. Singapore, with my own eyes, I saw Indians, Malay, and Chinese played together. They don't know each other's language, okay, but they know the game. Okay, games don't need language. And all the games are only two simple rules, okay. And chess, you guys know, Chaturang, you know, a lot of history is there, but except few Olympic games and chess, none of them are documented. I leave that to you guys, okay. That's all is my presentation. Do we have time for questions, ma'am? Ma'am, do you have time for questions? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can check my YouTube channel and yeah, thank you so much. Really, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about games.
Yeah.
Sir, I.
Yeah, I think the two presentations, they made important point. Ashwini Sharma, and that brought out the traditional way of making these blasters and all that. We have been collaborating with a Spanish scholar and also somebody from Dr. Rajendran from Mamalapuram Traditional Arts and Sculptures College to work on this Kadu Sakkarai Padimam. Some of these are mentioned in traditional text, traditional Silpa Sastra text, and there is something called Silpa Chennur, which has been published by Tamil Nadu government. We found very interestingly when we interviewed, they have been using soil from that crab hole and also soil from the various frog holes. They have been collecting all that different kinds of resins and everything to make this traditional images, because at that time they were making images in the main Garbhagriha, so that they should be waterproof. See a lot of things we have been working on for the past 1 year. So maybe you could also share your experience in Karnataka. That is one. Second, for Immaculate's presentation, and that is wonderful really. How really we need to look at things, and against the argument she presented on functional aspect. When somebody shows you a Palangudi or Mankala, you will think it is an egg rat. Same thing, somebody from Spain Museum, we had this Kavadi. In the Kavadi, they use two kind of frameworks, and that nowadays people use it as a decorative object. So that museum people do not know what is that. Then they were writing to us. Then we told them this is part of Kavadi, which is taken to Murugan Temple, Palani, and it was in the 19th century. Even that ladle store, which used to be in the traditional houses, now they are in the star hotels as decorative piece. You can understand how these things are changing. Again, another point I wanted to make, how we have become very restrictive. Earlier, society was very open, no state, and people were simply sitting in the temple, they were playing. That is why we have all that game boards. Nowadays, what we do, we build a temple and we put, iron grill all around, even in the mandapa, and nobody can rest. Mainly the mandapa temples were for people. Similarly, in the temple, we somehow brought this restricted notion, there should not be any market. We have a very, different notion of that heritage should be, devoid of people's activity. That is wrong. In many of the temple, if you look at Srirangam, the exterior outer fragara, it is meant for the people to sell goods. Actually, temple is, it was interlinked with the society. You have several references in the 14th, 15th century. The outer complex of the temple in the area, they were encouraging the textile weavers to settle in. There is inscription. Modern day, you think all these sellers should be thrown out, and that is also again a different kind of rigid notion. So we need to look at that. So this is where I said, the state State as an imagined concept that emerged mainly with the colonial period. Archaeologists, even Varna categories, they were only prescriptive. They were not strict. Historians sometimes took away these concepts without ground reality. They fortified into an imaginary history. I think this is where you need to learn the process of deconstruction and decolonization, which is a very difficult process. Thank you for both.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anthony, for your inspiring presentation and for shedding light on innovative ways to integrate community engagement in heritage conservation through games. As we come to a close of the session, I would like to thank firstly our chief guest, Dr. Selvakumar V, Head, Department of Maritime History and Maritime Archaeology, Tamil University, Tanjavur, for his thought-provoking address and for sharing his deep knowledge and perspectives with us today. Your words have left an lasting impression, sir. Thank you. We are immensely grateful to the principal of Jyotinivas College, Dr. Sister Louisa S., for her encouragement and unwavering support in making this event possible. I would also like to express our profound thanks to the Vice Chancellor of St. Joseph's University, Dr. Father Victor Lobo S.J., for his invaluable leadership and support, which has greatly contributed to the success of this collaborative endeavor. I thank Sister Sajita, Administrator, Sister Nalini Cruz, Manager, Sister Natalia, Principal, Jyotinivas Preview University College, Sister Cynthia from Jyotinivas Preview University College for gracing the occasion. A special thanks to Ms. Neeta T.R., Controller of Examination, and Dr. Carol Stanley, IPSC Coordinator, for their participation in the inaugural. I would also like to acknowledge the support of the coordinators of Arts, Science and Commerce of Jyotinivas College, whose efforts have ensured the success of this collaborative event. Our heartfelt thanks to Professor Jane D'Souza, Head of the Department of History, St. Joseph's University, for her instrumental role in coordinating the event and fostering academic collaboration. We are deeply appreciative of the contributions of the teaching and non-teaching staff of both Jyotinivas College and St. Joseph's University, whose tireless efforts behind the scenes have made today's event a grand success. Lastly, a big thank you to all the participants and guests for your active engagement, enthusiasm, and presence here today. As we break for lunch now, our volunteers will help all the students to proceed towards the canteen, and we will come back for the paper presentations here at 1:15 p.m. Thank you.